again, and welcome back to Music Impossible. Professor Jim here on to lesson number 6. And today we're going to learn a few terms, musical terms. If we want to think about a piece of music as being a map, and a good map has a good legend or a key that you can follow to sort of help follow the symbols and things that we see and to help navigate through the map that you're seeing. Same thing with music. We have the notes. We learned about treble clef here recently. We've learned about staffs and lines, and we've learned a little bit about note values and rhythms, and those are they're very important parts of the puzzle, of the map, if you will. But there's other things that help us communicate as well. We're going to look at those today. Just as an aside, before we get started, know that what we're doing here, and some of you may already have enough experience that you haven't learned much or anything yet. It's all old hat for you. Maybe you've been playing or singing for quite some time. But this is all foundational, and music theory is a lot like math, and it's a building block. You got to be able to add and subtract before you divide and multiply, and you have to be able to divide and multiply before you can do, single digits, before you can do multiple digits or long division, and so forth. And as you progress through your math studies, it gets more and more complicated, but builds on the same basic principles of add, subtract, multiply, and divide. You'll never stop doing any of that in your math studies. Just like you'll never not have to use the things we're learning here. So let's go over to Sibelius. Let's learn a few musical terms. At the end of the lesson today, you're going to have a couple of worksheets to work on to reinforce the new terms we're going to talk about today, as well as analyzing your first piece of music here in this class. And in music theory, we are constantly analyzing and listening and hearing music as we go. And so we're going to start off right away here in lesson number 6, doing a short analysis of some things. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is, let's just throw a couple of quarter notes up here. Have just a little short melody here. Let's see what that melody sounds like. All right, very simple melody, nothing too fancy. And we have quarter notes here. Of course, we know that quarter notes from our prior lessons is worth one count or one beat, if you want to think of it that way. We're going to take the same melody and we're going to make it into eighth notes. And we have eighth notes here. Now, an eighth note is equal to half of a beat. A quarter note is one whole beat. An eighth note is a half a beat. So in that case, there are 2 eighth notes per 1 quarter note. You can also think of it as eighth notes are twice as fast as quarter notes. They're played twice as fast, considering the same tempo. Let's take a look at the difference between this measure of quarter notes followed by eighth notes. So we see that those eighth notes are faster than the quarter notes. So that's the first thing we're going to learn today, a brand new note value in eighth notes. And when we do our analysis assignment at the end of the lessons today, we're going to have some eighth notes there in that example as well. Let's take a look at a few other terms. We're going to learn first a couple of expressions or dynamics. An expression is anything that we add to the music that gives the music, expression. And expression can be communicated through dynamics, which is how loud or soft we play. It can be communicated through how long or short we play a particular note, how loud we play a particular note. And so there's so many ways that we can communicate expression. So the first one here we're going to talk about is forte. Forte, this fancy stylized F stands for forte, which means loud. So anytime we want our musicians to play loud, we'll indicate an F, this stylized F for forte. The other one we're going to learn about is mezzo forte or medium loud. So medium loud would be a little less than loud. Mezzo forte is softer than forte. And when we go back and forth between the two, it helps stylize our music or give it expression from going from mezzo forte to forte or forte to mezzo forte. Sibelius here will play back their version of these 2 dynamic levels. Take a listen. Very subtle difference between forte and mezzo forte. There are more dynamic levels we'll learn about down the road, but there's our first 2. The other parts of expression we're going to learn about today, we have staccato. And staccato Many times people confuse that with being short or meaning short, but the definition really is about detached or separated. We want the notes to be separated. If you play a note too short or sing a note too short, it doesn't get enough body to the note to resonate the tone, to resonate the pitch that we want to hear. Sometimes it gets too choppy, and sometimes inexperienced musicians will play the notes short rather than just play them separated. So let's hear the difference between short or detached and a regular eighth note. Good. So beep, bop, bop, bum. Still nice pitch there, but definitely separated. The next one we'll learn about is something called a slur. A slur is that sort of curvy line right there, and this is telling the instrumentalist to play smoothly connected, and or legato is the technical term. So we have staccato notes here with the dots indicated by the dots under the notes. We have the slur that indicates that we want things to be smoothly connected. Now, a little advanced lesson here. Sometimes the slur is used, particularly in string instruments, to indicate bowing and which direction we want the bow to go. That's an advanced orchestration technique that's miles down the road in your music theory journey. But for the most part, we're talking about a slur being smoothly connected or legato. So let's hear the difference between these two. Very smooth, very connected. We see slurs a lot in more romantic songs, slower songs, different ways that if we want to create an emotion of sadness or love, oftentimes we'll use slurred mechanics in our melody and harmony writings. Whereas the staccato or the separated notes would be things that are more abrupt or maybe a march or more serious. And so a lot of times we'll use staccatos in those types of moods and modes. And the last term or symbol we're going to look at today is just something called an accent. An accent looks like this right there. Let's put a few more out there. Let's put one there. Let's put one there. So an accent is this sideways V, and it indicates to the instrumentalist to give those notes a little bit more emphasis, to stress those notes a little bit more than the notes surrounding it. Let's take a listen. Beat-up, boot-up. There's a little bit of an accent there on that last note. And so at the end of the lesson today, go ahead and do that assignment. It's going to reinforce these expressions and different terms. And then we're going to give you a short piece of music that we're going to ask you to analyze to identify things like quarter notes, eighth notes, whole notes, half notes, dotted half notes, accents, staccatos, and the dynamics that we've learned today. Good luck with that. We'll see you at the next lesson.